Hey Shakers, welcome to our fifth webinar. This time we have migrated from Zoom to Discord. We have found that the tools are just way better and allow us to do these with more ease, which is something that we're always looking to do. And our goal here today is to talk about how to identify earthquakes using Station View and Data View, using those two resources. And so we're going to look at a lot of waveforms today. Our focus today is going to be on a recent seismic event. We're going to look on today's journey. We're going to look at the moderate sized earthquake, the magnitude 6.7 that happened off the coast of New Zealand about 2 days ago. So that'll be the focus. My name is Branden Christensen. I'm one of the founding members of the Raspberry Shake team. And I traditionally train seismologists with a focus on volcano seismology. Been working in seismology for about 20 years now. And I'm coming at you from Costa Rica. And so I'll be doing a screen share today. I'll be walking you through looking at earthquakes with Station View and Data View. And two of the other speakers that we have today are here to support me in this process. One of them is Giuseppe, and the other one is Faustino. Faustino is a classically trained seismologist. Giuseppe has a deep knowledge of seismology as well, and has a master's degree in science. And he's been focusing on seismology ever since joining us. Giuseppe came to us as a hobbyist who we converted into a full-time shaker. And then Faustino has been working in and around the Raspberry Shake project since its inception. There's a number of other team members of Raspberry Shake in the audience here. Mike and Javier, who are supporting us with marketing this event, and also all the background technical support for what goes into making this possible on Discord. So with that, I think Giuseppe, I'll pass it over to you for a moment if you want to talk about the interface here and just give the people who are new to Discord a brief orientation of how to move between the looking at the stage and looking at the screen share, and then also speak to what we're going to be releasing on YouTube after this.
Yes, Brandon, thank you. So again, welcome everyone. We have, as Brandon said, we have moved to Discord, and well, we are finding the experience quite nice. We have multiple tools that you can use to interact with us speakers. The main one is the chat. You can open it by clicking on the chat button that you should find at the top right corner of your screen. And with that, you can ask your questions, make observations, I don't know, even propose, hey, can you look at this waveform that I recorded on my instrument? And Faustino, myself, Brandon, we always keep an eye on the chat, so you will easily be able to interact with us. Another method that you have available is to raise your hand, and the button is clearly marked by an open hand, again close to the chat button. And this method is available to you after Brandon will finish his presentation. And if you want to join the stage, ask your question by voice, and get a reply from Brandon or myself or Faustino. As stated, we are recording this entire webinar, and probably in maximum 1-2 days, the same webinar will be uploaded and will stay on our YouTube channel, of which I posted the link in the chat. So if you want to see it again, and for anyone else that wasn't able to join us today, it will be available to watch. Have I forgotten anything, Branden?
Yeah, just a few more things. Thank you, Giuseppe. Appreciate that. So I'm going to be the one speaking for the next about half an hour or so. I'm going to take a half hour to look at this magnitude 6.6, 6.7 off the coast of New Zealand. I'm going to go through a number of examples, and then we'll open the floor to questions. So you'll be able to raise your hand. We'll move you up to the stage, and you'll be able to ask it verbally. You can also ask questions at any time through the chat. And so while I'm talking, if something comes up and you'd like to pose a question, Giuseppe and Faustino will be monitoring the chat and responding in real time. So it's the same format that we were using on Zoom before. The chat is also available. So after we close this webinar, all the chat is available to the community. So if there was any interesting links or graphics that were shared there, you can reference them later on. So we'll do about 30 minutes or so for the demonstration. We'll open the floor. The floor will have 15 to 30 minutes for questions. And and then we'll close it. So very appreciative of everyone I see in the audience. I have also noticed that there's some members of the audience that don't have a Raspberry Shake. So if you've never seen one, this is it. This is a Raspberry Shake 1D. That's how big it is. This fits in the palm of your hand. And we'd love for you, when you're ready, to join us, to join the community. All right. Giuseppe, let's begin. Okay. So just take a moment, switch over to the screen that I'm sharing there. And we'll start by talking about this beautiful earthquake that happened off the coast of New Zealand. So the way I want to do this is start with stations that are really close to the source, and then we're going to move to stations that are far away. So we're going to start with stations in the area of New Zealand, and we're probably going to end looking at a station that's more than 10,000 kilometers away, somewhere perhaps in South America or in the United States or in Europe. We'll see where this journey takes us. So the very first thing I'm going to do with Station View is I'm going to open up the Stations menu item. I'm just going to type in the name of the station that I want to begin with. So that is F862. And then I change my view to the world view, so it comes up. I'm going to click it, and we're going to zoom directly to that station. The earthquake that we're looking at today was happening down here off the coast of southern New Zealand. It is this magnitude 6.7 earthquake. And when I click on that earthquake, it brings up a summary of the parameters of that earthquake. So we see it's 21 kilometers deep. This is the time in UTC that it happened. And we get its location as well as its event ID. And so I'm going to then click on this station. This is the one that we're going to look at. We see that the station we're beginning with is 274 kilometers away from the earthquake.
Branden,
If you see on the right hand,
sorry for the...
Yes.
It seems that your screen is not appearing, so we're checking why.
Okay. All right.
So, yeah.
I am seeing it appearing on my display.
Yeah.
I can see it too. I can see the screen.
Some users cannot see it. So sorry for the interruption. But
Yeah, no problem. Maybe how does it show up for them?
but we have Edward, Wico, and L that are not seeing it.
Edward's a pretty experienced Discord user, so.
Error 2002.
Wow, there's quite a few that can't see the shared screen.
Yes, that's why.
So we have Mike and Javier that have joined us as part of the Raspberry Shake team, and they're joining as normal users. Wonder if they can let us know if they see screen share as well. They can just send something to the chat. So yeah, so they can see it.
Yeah, there are some can see it and some cannot. So we have to find why there is this.
You know what? There might be a pattern here. Thank you, everyone who has written us in the chat. So, Viceroy's a hobbyist. Marisa, you can't see it, is labeled as educational.
Let me see.
Raphael is professional and educational. He can see it. Lars is a professional and can't see it. So it's not role-based.
No. Let's see. Everyone.
Yeah, we got hobbyists who can see it and hobbyists who can't see it.
We're checking now.
Looking over at the global permissions for the video and voice sharing now. Just to double check that everything's enabled properly.
Doing the same.
Should connect speed. Yeah, all the permissions are fine. I think we have to just roll with it.
Let's see. Branden, can you just try stopping it and resharing your screen? Just,
Absolutely.
the usual.
They should be able to see it on the stage next to the speakers, and then they'll be able to click on it, and then it gets bigger. Okay, so that's what it was. They couldn't see it, and now they can see it.
Everyone who wasn't able to see it before, confirm that you now can see it. Okay, so
Awesome.
can see it, Al can see it, Patrick still cannot.
We got two. Oh, why? Why can't you see it? It shows a loading screen.
Maybe due to network conditions. Yeah. Yeah, there is, it should be network related at this point.
Or their local network. Some people say they had to refresh. Yeah, the two boxes rotating is a sign that it's loading. Okay. Well, we'll release this on YouTube, and I have to hope that for the members, the audience that can't see it, this will still be useful and that it'll be able to come online. For those of you that can see the station view map, we're going to begin with this station that's 274 kilometers away from the earthquake. On the right-hand side, the system automatically pulls up the waveform and the spectrogram for every channel for this station. And so this is actually a great place to begin, because the waveform view and the spectrogram view are two of the tools that we're going to work with the most during this talk. The spectrogram view is as the same x-axis as the waveform view. It's time. And then where the waveform is amplitude on the y-axis, spectrogram is frequency. And then the color intensity in the spectrogram is the amplitude. So you have kind of three really important elements to a spectrogram. It allows you to visually capture more information, as we'll see in examples with the human eye, than you're able to do by looking at the waveform alone. Right, so we're going to start with the station. One of the easiest ways to get into the data view is to click on a station and then click on its waveform. And that'll open up a new tab that throws you into data view for that particular station. And we're going to step back in time one day. We want to look at the yesterday's magnitude 6.7. And here's a really beautiful example where this event for the station is such a large amplitude that everything else around it in its 24-hour plot that we call a helical plot is basically flatlined. Right? And so before we jump in and we look at this, I want to show you that there's two earthquakes on the screen. The other earthquake is a magnitude 5.4. And it's an aftershock of the magnitude 6.7. So it's an earthquake essentially that was is part of the fault's ongoing expression after its principal movement. And if we change the scaling a little bit, we might be able to tease out additional aftershocks. So this is the scaling feature up here. It's currently set to 0. As I move that, you'll see that the amplitude of the earthquakes begins to rise. And you begin to see more information that's kept in the background. So right now we're at a scale of 5. And you can see the aftershock and the main shock very well. And then there's another earthquake down here that looks like it's another aftershock event. Another way to tease out some additional information is to click on the filter icon and to go to, for example, a regional filter. And if I hit apply here, now we can see quite clearly that there's main shock, aftershock, and then these look like aftershock events as well. So if we want to look at this main earthquake itself, we can click on it here, and this will bring up a zoomed view of the earthquake. I'll zoom out just a bit. And here there's a really nice onset of the earthquake. You can see from where it goes to be very flat. Suddenly it's spiking down and then up. This is what we call the primary wave, or the P wave. So it's the first arrival. We can switch back and forth between the waveform and the spectrogram view using this icon that has 9 little squares. And that brings up nice, colorful view of the earthquake. And so what you're seeing here is time, and then frequency on this axis. And then the earthquake is showing up as very bright colors because that's where the highest amplitudes are. And so we're going to leave this view open And we're going to go find another station, and then we're going to compare the two. So, doing that right now. See, the next station that we're going to pull up is one on the other side of New Zealand. And it's 43 FF. Okay, so there it is. So right again, here you have the earthquake sequence down here. We were just looking at a Raspberry Shake in this part of New Zealand. We're going to go to northern New Zealand. We're going to look at this Raspberry Shake. One of the things I want to point out why we're here is you'll notice that we're looking at a lot of earthquakes in New Zealand. It really shakes a lot in New Zealand. And you'll notice that there's a progression, almost like a rainbow, that goes from the right-hand side to the left-hand side, where the colors of the earthquakes, which are all similar in magnitude, are transitioning from red to orange to yellow to greens and blues. And this transition shows you depth. So if we pull up the earthquake depth and magnitude scale, you can see that as we get deeper, we change the color of the earthquakes. And with that, you can see the actual, the plate is moving at an angle with respect to New Zealand, the plate that's subducting. And so you can see that we're having earthquakes likely at the boundary between two plates, the subducting plate and the overriding plate. And so that's why you go from very shallow earthquakes in eastern New Zealand to very deep earthquakes in western New Zealand. Okay, we're going to pull up the data from yesterday. And when you're very proximal to an earthquake, our system will label it for you. And so we're labeling the magnitude 6.7, so it's easy to find here. But notice that this station is a lot noisier than the one that we were previously looking at. And so we might want to filter this right away to regional, perhaps. And just to be able to have the earthquake stand out better for us. And so here you can see the main shock, you can see the aftershock that we saw before, and another aftershock down here. And this earthquake, we come back to the map, this station, instead of being 274 kilometers away, it's now about 1,000 kilometers away, a little bit more, maybe 1,200 kilometers. And so this earthquake's going to look different. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. I'm going to switch over. Well, before I switch over to the spectrogram, notice that there's already an important difference between these two earthquakes. Notice in this first example, it's not really clear where the secondary wave is showing up. Normally, earthquakes have two waves, the primary and the secondary. Here we see the onset of the first one, the primary wave. And the secondary wave is somewhere in there, but it's not very clear. This is common when you're close to the source. The further you get away, the clearer things become. And so here we have a really clear onset. There's a lot of energy right here. This is the E wave or the primary wave. And then the secondary wave is somewhere right here, right? And so this is the primary, and then it comes down, and then boop, we get a secondary wave that comes in for that same earthquake. So that's actually the same earthquake. It's not two earthquakes, the same one. There's different wave types. One of the things to notice is that if you look at the waveform itself, there's a lot of like lines that are closely compressed on the left-hand side, close to the P wave, very high frequency. That is characteristic of the P wave. And then the secondary wave, especially if you look out towards the tail of the earthquake or the coda, you'll see that the space between the the waves that are crossing over the x-axis of the earthquake, it's actually spacing out, right? We can see this also when we convert over to the spectrogram view, where we have the earthquake is here in this very high concentration, the yellows. That's where the highest amplitude is in frequency space. So let's look at both of these in that view. So this one, the earthquake is occupying initially kind of a ramp up in frequency to about 25 hertz. And then it comes down, okay, to something around 15 hertz. And then it tails off down into the background noise, and it gets lower and lower in frequency over time. Looking at the one that's 1,000 kilometers away, it's quite different. This earthquake is showing energy to maybe about 5 hertz. So a lot of the higher frequency energy that was up here in our previous example, all of this has already been filtered away by the Earth by the time that you get to this distance, 1,000 kilometers from the source. And as you begin to look even further away in the world, the Earth is going to filter out more and more of the high frequency information, and you're going to get, we'll see less and less of this earthquake. Okay. Okay. So we're going to now visit a station that's about 4,000 kilometers away. And this one is going to be hard to tease out where the earthquake is in this station. I'm going to use the filter option here in data view to pull up this station. Okay, I'm going to step back in time one day, back to 25th. All right. So the earthquake is somewhere in here. Question is where? Before we investigate that, let's just pull up the map icon. I want to show you where this is. So this station is, zoom out a little bit, 4,000 kilometers away from the source, and we're in Papua New Guinea. So here's the earthquake source. We were looking at 2 stations on opposite ends of New Zealand, and now we're focused right here, about 4,000 kilometers away. And look how difficult it is to see where this earthquake is. There's actually a ton of earthquakes here. I'll point them out. You can see them quite well. These are all very local earthquakes, and we'll come back to this and we'll look at that. In order to kind of tease out this earthquake that we know is from far away from this station, and it's going to have very low frequencies, we want to apply a filter. And so I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to apply a filter for the long period surface waves called the Rayleigh Love Waves filter, and apply that. And it's going to filter the entire heliquarter plot. And then we're going to see if we see it. This looks like it could be it, but it's also seems like it's got too much energy. But let's try another filter. Maybe I went too aggressive, too fast. Wow, finding this earthquake is a challenge. All right, so let's do it by time. We know this earthquake is happening near source at around 1:44 a.m. UTC. So let's pull that up. Now the earthquake is happening at 1:44, but it's traveling through the Earth. So likely we have to look for it sometime after 1:44. and that'll depend on the distance. But let's switch over to the spectrogram view because it might be easier to find the earthquake that way. All right, this one is super hard to locate. This is a great example of just not being able to find a convincing candidate for this earthquake. So what we'll do is we'll take advantage of the fact that we're here and we'll remove the filters and we'll look at these other earthquakes to see what characteristics they have. This one, for example. All right, this is a beautiful example. So notice the difference between the first earthquake that we looked at, the magnitude 6.7, and the first station that was 274 kilometers away. And then this smaller magnitude earthquake that's likely local to Papua New Guinea. And notice the difference in characteristics, okay? This is shorter duration, first of all. It's much more like very abrupt onset. You can see it's like a clearly defined line here. Switch off, you can see that in the waveform too. It's a big P wave followed by a little S wave. This, and you can see the P wave energy here in two pockets and the S wave energy here. So this is an example of a very local earthquake, an earthquake that's happening very close to our station. And so we're preserving a lot of the energy from this earthquake and we're registering most of it on our Raspberry Shake. So this is a great example of a very local event. All right, let's step out further and let's look at another station and see if we can find that earthquake. So we'll come back over to our filter here. We'll look at 114E. We'll pull up the map while that loads. Okay, we're looking at station in Argentina. Let's see how far away it is from our earthquake. About 10,000 kilometers away. That's a pretty good distance. So once again here, it's going to be pretty difficult to find this earthquake, but I think we can do it. We're going to try the lob filter here because now we're really far away from the source, and this is likely to be the best filter to see when the onset of the earthquake is. And we're going to just confirm that we're on the right day. Pull up the 25th. All right, here we go. We got a challenge again. So we're going to get rid of the filter, go back to the raw data. We're going to do this again based on time. So we're on the right day. You have to get to the right time. I think maybe I didn't step back far enough. That's why we don't see it. Forward again. I should be looking further down here. All right. So it happened at 0144, at 10,000 kilometers away. It could have taken 15, 25 minutes to arrive at this station. I just want to confirm the time. Yeah, 0143 is the origin time. Wow, I don't see it here either. This one is a challenge. I went to a filter here again. Not an easy one to see it on. Okay, we'll choose another example. Let's go to 717A. I think we're stepping even further away, but R717A. Romania. I cruised back to yesterday. Looking again. Different filters. We'll start with global. Okay, this one we see it really well. Okay. So maybe I was looking in the wrong place in the last one, but if you use the global filter here, you can see the earthquake very well. If you switch and use the love filter, which is looking at even lower frequencies, even longer periods, decrease the scaling. I can see this really well. The earthquake starts about right here, and then these waves, this wave train carries on for hours, which is something that you would expect for an earthquake of this magnitude. So this is basically what you're looking at here is the earth ringing like a bell from this earthquake or a really great distance. And so I'm going to pull this earthquake up. I'm going to remove the filtering back to default. And we're going to zoom out a little bit. There it is. Actually, let's put the filter global back on the background here. But one of the things you'll notice is that as I'm filtering a heliquarter plot, there's no filter being applied in the zoomed waveform view, and that's intentional because here I have different filter settings. But we actually just want to look at the raw information. So you'll notice that this raw data is like pretty spiky. There's a lot going on besides just this earthquake. And you can see this very well when you use the spectrogram view. We'll zoom out a little bit more. You notice there's lots of these high frequency spots. And if we switch back and forth between spectrogram and waveform, and notice that they correspond. Like if you take this one, fix your eye on this one, there's a very high frequency, almost like jolt that corresponds to this here, which is noise, doesn't look like an earthquake. You can see that our earthquake is down here. You can see that there's a big color change from purples to yellows and oranges. And that the highest concentration of energy is in this section right here. And we're at time 204. And this earthquake occurred at 0144. So about 20 minutes have passed. So it took around 20 minutes for the earthquake to get to the station. So if we pull this station up on the map, we're in Romania. And you can see we are really far away from New Zealand. Maybe we're 8,000 kilometers away from New Zealand. Right? So what I would like you to notice is that as we've stepped away from the earthquake in terms of distance, the amplitude or the frequency content and characteristics of the earthquake have shifted. And that's because the earth is filtering out again all those high frequency information and leaving us just with the longer period waves or the lower frequency waves that are able to move through greater parts of the earth without getting filtered away. All right. So I think at that point, what I'll do is I'll just take a pause and we'll use the rest of the time to answer any of your questions.
All right, Branden.
Did you step? Yep, I'll let you step in here.
Yeah, we're still having some people not being able to see the screen you're sharing, so we apologize for this, and we will have the recording up on YouTube, and we will fix this and see what's going on by the time our next webinar comes out, because thanks to all your feedback, now we are aware of this issue that we haven't encountered in our previous meeting, Branden, if I'm correct.
Yeah, when we did the AMA, this wasn't an issue. So, but we didn't do any screen sharing during the AMA.
So it's a growing process. We can call those growing pains, and we will overcome them and come back with something that everyone can easily enjoy. So for now, we have a question for Michel, asking, is it possible to calculate the propagation speed of the earthquake?
Okay. Yes, it is possible to do this. You can do this. The easy way would just be to take two stations, one maybe that's close to the source and one that's far away from the source. And then you can measure the E and S arrival times. And then based on the difference between them, you'll know the propagation speed. And the way this works in principle is that very close to the source, like we saw, the S wave is very hard to distinguish from the P wave because they're basically right on top of one another. And then because the P wave is moving at a much higher velocity than the S wave, maybe 6,000 to 8,000 kilometers per 6 to 8,000 meters per second versus say 2 to 3,000 meters per second for the S wave. What happens with distance is the S wave begins to lag, and you get more and more space between the P and the S wave. And with that, you could calculate the propagation speeds.
Thank you, Branden. Michel, does that answer your question? Oh, and Jim says that his video just started to work. So,
okay.
Thank you for the feedback, Jim. Okay, Michel thanks us. Thanks you, Branden. And there are, while we wait for more questions, if there are any, I just want to make the observation, Branden, that sometimes it's really hard to actually find the earthquake, even if you know where it should be.
That's right.
Yeah.
Even if you get a lot of training as a seismologist, it can be hard. So, especially with these earthquakes like this that are, this is a large earthquake. It's magnitude 6.7, but it's not a really large earthquake. Magnitude 7, 8, and 9 show up really well. And other times you get a magnitude 5.5 that just shows up everywhere across the whole network and is super clear. Depends a lot on which station you're looking at, how much noise there is, and whether or not you're under the pressure of doing a webinar. Find them quickly.
That's also true. So if anyone any other questions or curiosities they want to ask, feel free. We still have, let's say, about 10 minutes in our webinar time.
Well, if we don't have any questions, should we close it and just invite anyone who's willing to stay to help us troubleshoot this to stay? We'll spend a few minutes talking to see if we can figure out what this is.
We can also do that. Yes.
Hey, Jim, Can you let me know? And I see your video just started to work. Is it still working? And did you do anything to make it work, or did you, what was your process? Maggie refreshed twice and my video started working again.
Oh, we also have 2 incoming questions from the chat. Okay, so the first one, Branden, is what's the bandwidth of the shake and the bandwidth of the pool?
I think the question is not what the bandwidth of the shake is, but what bandwidth the shake consumes. So the shake consumes very, very little bandwidth. Over the course of an entire day, the Raspberry Shake 1D will send 15 MB of data, which is the size maybe of a small photo on your iPhone. And so not a whole lot of data. It's sent, and all of that is broken up and sent continuously all day long. So it's very, very small bits, like kilobytes per second, that are sent by the Raspberry Shake. And that's true of all the sensors, or all the models that we have. Basically, if you have a Raspberry Shake installed on your home network, you'll never notice.
Okay, Jim, thank you.
All right, Edward, how is the ground motion calculated for these earthquakes? And you're sharing a photo of the mobile app. Oh, okay. Giuseppe, do you want to take this one?
I'm just recovering. We had a similar question in our community forum some days ago. So in order to give a good response and a good reply. Okay, yes. Okay, I found it. So, that kind of, Edward, that kind of small numbers, that is ground motion, for example, 1 to the power of minus 5, minus 6. Those are values that are calculated using a mathematical formula. If you're interested, I can give you the link where you can find the formula on our forum. That takes into account the distance between your station, or in case of the mobile app, the location your phone is in, and the epicenter of the earthquake. So that could be obviously anything from, a few kilometers to the other side of the world. Then it also takes into account the depth of the earthquake, to consider the differences between more shallower earthquakes closer to the surface and deeper earthquakes. And using those 2 values, again, through a mathematical formula, it calculates the expected ground motion at your location. Given that, it can then order all the earthquakes that are visible in the mobile app via this new calculated ground motion parameter, and it gives you an idea of how much different magnitudes, different distances, different depths can actually change the way you see an earthquake at your station when the waves arrive there. And if you are curious about the mathematics behind that, I will give you this link where you will be able to find in the second message, in the first reply, so the second message of this thread, the mathematical formula that is used to calculate those very values on the mobile app.
What is the bandwidth response of the instrument response in terms of bandwidth of the Raspberry Shake and Boom sensors? Okay, so that one's easy to answer. For the geophone elements in all of our sensors, we have a flat frequency response from about 0.7 hertz to 44 hertz, essentially Nyquist. And for the boom sensors, it's flat from about 0.05 hertz to 44 hertz again. And all of that information is contained in the manual. In the manual, there's a part that talks about technical specifications. And we have a link to a technical specifications document where we show the plots with the instrument responses of every one of our sensors.
Thank you, Branden. I'm just posting the link in reply, so it will be easy to access the document.
All right, you're welcome, Viceroy.
Very welcome.
All right. Well, I'm very appreciative of everyone for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you next month. We'll be continuing to do these on a monthly basis. We'll iron out all the kinks here. And then we'll come back at you next month and with another webinar. And have fun shaking. So thank you so much. And Javier and Giuseppe and Faustino, if you could just stay on the call.
Yes, Mr. Insane. The video, all the webinar has been recorded, so we will post it on a YouTube channel and put a notification here on Discord, on our forum, in all our channels, as usual. So you'll be able to see it. Great, Viceroy, that's great. We'll always welcome more questions. So it will be great to have you all next time. Thank you, Edward. See you. And thank you. Oh, from Hawaii. That's amazing. That's great. Thanks for joining us, KH. And thank you, Jim, too.